Hello and welcome to this course on learning how to love yourself. And I titled it that way on purpose because self-love is something that you can learn to do. So way to go. I want to say thank you for being here and thank you for investing in yourself by learning how to love yourself. Now, before we move on, the first thing I want to ask you to do is to set your intention for what you want to get out of this course, because setting an intention is a powerful thing. It opens us up. It can keep you connected to your why behind why you decided that you wanted to take this course. So let's just take a moment, reconnect with that intention. What are you hoping to get out of it? Just take a moment and center yourself in that. Now, the other thing I'm going to ask you to do is to hold on to that intention throughout this course. Keep coming back to it because, once again, intentions are a very powerful thing. Now, what are we going to be covering in this course? Well, first, I want to share a little bit of my story and why I do the work that I do. We'll also then talk about what is self-love. We'll also talk about what self-love is not. And then we'll talk about what blocks self-love and then what happens in our life when self-love is blocked. And then finally, we're going to talk about learning how to love yourself, the practical things that you can do to start practicing self-love. So a little bit about me. I'm a master certified transformational life coach, which means I'm passionate about helping people transform their lives by transforming their relationship with themselves. And one of the key things that helps people transform their relationship with themselves is learning how to love themselves. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I'm the host of the Permission to Love podcast. I hold an MBA in global management, and I'm currently finishing my master's in psychology degree at Harvard University. So why do I do the work that I do? I do it because I'm so passionate about helping people heal their relationship with themselves and become the highest version of themselves, to go through a process of self-transformation. And the reason I'm so passionate about it is because of my story and what happened in my life as I learned to heal my relationship with myself. You know, I grew up in a very abusive home and experienced a lot of childhood trauma. I also grew up in poverty on the U.S. welfare system and moved around all over the place, wound up going to 17 different schools. And what happened to me as a result of experiencing all of those things is I developed a deep sense of shame. I carried the belief that there was something wrong with me, that I was a problem that needed to be fixed. And I really struggled with that self-hatred, that self-loathing, and everything that shame brings with it. And as a result of carrying all that shame, I went on to try to achieve my way out of the way that I felt about myself. I went on to pursue multiple degrees. I still pursue degrees, but from a very different place at this point. I then went on to philanthropy work and raised over $1 billion for the global poor. Now, on the outside, I looked like I had it all together, but on the inside, I was falling apart. Didn't like myself, carried so much shame, and had such a harsh inner critic that was so relentless that then led to me picking up alcohol as a way to cope with myself. I often tell people I drank in order to escape my own presence. And then all of that workaholism, alcoholism, all of the messages and the stories drove me to a place of burnout, and it drove me to an 18-month period where my life basically fell apart. During that 18-month period, I had a heart attack, open heart surgery, started going through a second divorce, and then also wound up in rehab 2 different times over that 18-month period. Now, my last day in rehab, on that final day when I was graduating from the program, was a part of a ceremony that they did for those who were moving on, who were graduating. And what they did was they took a stone, and this is the actual stone that was used as a part of my graduation ceremony. And each person who was a part of my cohort or a part of the group that I was there with took the stone and they said something encouraging about me into the stone. And then they passed it around the room. And then finally, the stone made its way into my hands. And what I was supposed to do in that moment was to say something encouraging about myself into the stone. And in that moment, spontaneously, as I took the stone, I looked at it and I said these words: I am worthy of my own love. I mean, I'd never had said those words before. But when I said it, something shifted inside of me. Saying those words into this little stone It somehow gave me the permission to open myself up to loving myself. And I genuinely felt something shift inside of me. It was like something broke open, just a crack. When that crack broke open inside of me, it then caused me to go on a journey of understanding self-love. What is it? How does it work? How do you develop it? It also set me on a journey to understand the sources of shame that I had, both religious and childhood trauma that I had carried for over 40 years. And what I realized through all of that work of learning and growing was that that trauma that I experienced had broken my relationship with myself. It had separated me from my own love. We talk a lot about how trauma is not what happens to you, but it's what happens in you. And one of the things that often happens in us is that we make a decision that we're not lovable, that there's something wrong with us, that we're broken. And then we'll wind up carrying that message with us our whole lives if something doesn't change. But the good news is self-love can begin to heal that broken relationship that you have with yourself. It can begin to let you see that there's nothing wrong with you. There's never been anything wrong with you. You had experiences, that the natural outcome of those experiences is for you to feel the way that you feel, is for you to struggle with self-love. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're broken. And you can learn to love yourself, heal your relationship with yourself, and that is why I do the work that I do. And it all started with this little stone and me saying those words into it that were so transformational for me, that now my hope through the coaching that I do, the podcast that I do, and things like this that I do is to help other people awaken to the fact of how much power they have to heal their relationship with themselves.